Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Ricky.
And welcome to the Demand Gen Daily Podcast. All right, before we get started, please remember to subscribe. We're talking about brand value and Google Ads and how this mix makes a lot more sense than you may think. So tell us a little bit about that, Ricky.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an interesting conversation because a lot of people think when it comes to Google Ads, because it's very intent driven, people are searching based on a keyword. There's very little relation back to brand value, back to creative. But in actuality, the brand has a huge impact on the results you can expect to see through Google Ads for a very few specific reasons. One of them, just off the top, is click-through rate. So one of the three elements of quality score that you have to be looking at is expected click-through rate. And so if you have a well-known brand with a lot of brand equity, you can expect that your click-through rate is going to be naturally higher than the other brands you're competing with. So if you have a very well-known brand, you're going up against two or three other competitors that are unknown in the marketplace, you're already going to have that advantage just through the expected click-through rate as like the first piece. And the other thing is that when you start to look at the full conversion funnel, getting people into the website is just part of the battle. So once you actually get them through the ads into your site, you really have to start thinking about how you're going to be converting them. And this is where brand value can really play a huge part. So what you want to do is you want to basically look at the full funnel where you're converting people, whether it's a landing page or through your website. And is the value of your brand demonstrating that you're the leader in the market, or when you compare yourself to the competitors, what does that look like?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time what ends up happening is that people say to us, it's like, sometimes I'm not getting the leads that I want, like, especially like newer clients where we've done a consultation and they want lead gen, like they want to go straight into lead generation of some kind. And we say, okay, like we look at their site, we look at what's going on, and you know that they need that little bit of a brand facelift, maybe a little bit of a brand refresh. And they're in a spot where they need to get that uptick in leads right away. So you take it on that way and you get that uptick, but then the plateau comes like very quickly, like a couple of months in. And then all of a sudden you're fighting against this invisible resistance. Then often this is when we reapproach clients and say, okay, hey, it's been like 2-3 months. Your leads have doubled, tripled, whatever have you. We've stabilized. Your revenue looks steady here. Let's look at rebranding this or updating what we need to update in order to refresh this brand a bit, make it look sharp. And they'll say, you did it last time, can't you do it again? And it's very difficult to have that conversation. When you have website tracking, for example, your domain, and you can see, if you have proper data connection, you can see what companies are looking at your site. Any like big companies that are potential customer for that client, you realize that the better leads are there and the lead volume is there. They're just not filling out so they're basically coming in, they're clicking the ad, so they're spending the money, they're getting there, and they're like, this doesn't speak to me. It's not at the caliber that we want. Because you have to remember that people always use like the brand looks and the overall picture. They use it as a proxy for quality. So when your website doesn't look that good, they assume that the quality of your product isn't that good either.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to elevate the perceived value to get the conversion rates up, to get your click-through rates up. And this can be one of those things where you've tried A/B testing all the different ad copy, all the different variations of trying to get people to convert. And if you can't figure out why you can't get that conversion rate higher, it could simply be the brand, that it's just not being a competitive brand in terms of what else is in the marketplace.
Yeah, obviously there's other factors like we look at, like CRO, whatever have you. What are the sources like for the traffic? And all of these things, when the right type of lead is already visiting you and you can't convert it or you can't get them to take an action. And we've tested this before, like we've gone offline and just sent people mail, sent people like registered mail so that we know that they have to sign for it. If we see somebody from a bigger company, we tell the clients like, hey, send these people's ops department this thing, send them a box or send them like some pens or whatever with a handwritten note. And sure enough, the people are like, oh, hey, like I was on your site, like funny timing, we're looking for this thing. And all of a sudden they start a conversation. But it's because now you're going to that white glove territory, right? Because they're like these guys are like active, their sales is really good. And again, sometimes brand really does reflect the quality of a product. Depending in the industry that you're in, it often doesn't.
Yeah, and one other thing you can do is when you're testing your different landing pages, make sure that the quality of the landing page is equivalent to what people would be seeing on the website as well. Because if you're dealing with a client where they have a great looking website, but the landing pages look like garbage, you may find that you might actually get a higher conversion rate through the website, even though it's technically not best practice, but it might still work better for you. So that's where you should really test that out and see what the conversion rate looks like.
Yeah, and I remember like a story like where we had that exact same thing happen, and plugging it straight into the homepage, not a best practice at all. But the difference, because of what they had built in the past, their landing pages predated their website redo, and they had just started with us, and putting them back into the homepage, their conversion rates doubled overnight. And it just goes to show that even though the landing page was structurally proper, it didn't matter, because the type of person that was looking for that service wanted something that was better, or that they perceived as better.
So definitely make sure that if you're running Google Ads, brand still matters. Don't forget about the brand. Make sure that it's one of the key elements that you're considering as a recipe of the success.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Till next time.